episode of 6 Studios, and today is not going to be a build video, but instead a breakdown of my Aquaman cosplay, specifically the version seen in 2016's Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, portrayed by Jason Momoa in his first DC appearance. Now what's funny about this version of Aquaman's costume is that there's actually more behind the scenes footage of Jason in the costume than there is the film itself. The cameo was such a blink and you'll miss it moment, they honestly could have just stuck him in a pair of jeans with the trident and called it a day. But no, they went above and beyond and created this really cool Atlantean armor. And I've always thought it just looked so cool. And I remember at the time there were images released of him standing there with the trident in the armor, fully tattooed, looking great, and we were excited. But we never saw this costume again after that. And I thought, what a wasted opportunity. But then I thought, what an opportunity. I'll tackle this as a cosplay. And here we are. I would also like to go on record saying that Aquaman is not my favorite character. I just thought this look was so cool and so badass. My favorite character... just pointing to Batman's crotch. My favorite character is Batman. Always was, always will be. I just thought this look was so cool. So, I decided to attack it. Now I'm going to take a few close-ups and show you the ins and outs of this actual armor. But the majority of it is foam and leather. All purchased at Michael's. Keep it simple, but in total for this we have the right shoulder armor, the gauntlets, the boots, the hip guard, the belts, and of course... oh, it's too tall. And of course, the trident. The trident was the easiest one, I just bought it. So let's take a closer look at all the armor pieces. Okay, so first off is the shoulder slash bicep armor. Now, this was just made out of foam. And basically what I did, you could see the registration mark underneath. I had cut that there and all the way down the center there. I wrapped it around the entire mannequin here and just used a heat gun to form it and then glue those pieces shut right there. And don't worry about this damage. I will definitely explain what happened to that later. It's a good story. So it was the same thing with this. I just cut these pieces to size, and these are actually two separate pieces, as I'll take this off in a second. Alright, so I took it off, and now that we're flipping it over, we can really take a look at the inner workings of this. Now, the problem with these leather straps is that glue would not stick to it at all. So I needed to think of a different way of connecting the leather to the foam. Now, as you see there and there, I ended up buying rivets and just popping them on, because that was the only way that this leather seemed to want to hold to itself, is if it was riveted on. So I did that up there. See right there, made a loop. I basically made foam belt loops all around, reinforced it with hot glue at the seams to make sure it wasn't going anywhere, and simply adjusted it to size. Voila. Snaps on, like so. Now, how I went about all these details is that this is actually 3mm craft foam, and this was all done on the Cricut cutter. My machine hated me after this, but got the job done. I just happened to come across some images online that looked close enough to what it actually was. Tried my luck, and there we go. And then I went by the painstaking process of hot gluing this entire thing on, which took forever. But I think it looks pretty cool. The painting, on the other hand, took a lot longer. And that was the case with all of the armor. So basically what I did before I painted this armor, as well as every other piece of armor that you see, is I hit it with several coats of black Plasti Dip. Now that prepped and primed the armor so it can make it ready for painting. However, I then dry brushed acrylic black onto it, and then I followed it up with this acrylic bronze. Dry brushing it over the entire thing, it gave kind of a golden sheen to it that I really liked. I wanted to go for a kind of aged armor look, which is slightly different than what is shown in behind the scenes, but I wanted this to stand out a little bit more, so I wanted this to be my own take on it. As you see right there, you could see the base coat of black, and I wanted that to show through. And then of course we have the bronze. Now moving on to the gauntlets, I actually just found a picture of the gauntlet online, and then I just scaled that to size on my arm, cut out the thinner foam first, glued it to the thicker foam, and then I cut it out and then molded it with a heat gun so that it can keep this shape. Now as far as the inner workings of this goes, I basically just took that thin foam and then I hammered those eyelet rivets into it, sprayed it with Plasti Dip just so it can keep the color, hot glued it to the inside, and then just ran this lace through it. So that's for the gauntlet, and then I made it adjustable so that I don't have to fight with it every single time. Now, taking from the behind the scenes footage, it didn't close all the way, and I really wanted to keep that because it was pretty noticeable. So as for these monstrosities here, I basically just bought a pair of knockoff Crocs or whatever the hell this is. I don't own a pair of Crocs. I don't want to own a pair of Crocs. This just so happened to work. Same rules apply. Hit it with the black plasti dip. Ended up dry brushing the black and the bronze on top of it, and we have ourselves a pair of boots. So for the hip guard, it was the same process. I found a photo, scaled it to size, printed it out, and then traced it onto foam, cut it out, glued it down onto other foam, yada yada yada, lather, rinse, repeat. We have the hip guard. Now what I noticed in a lot of these, once more I had to make the foam belt loops, but as for these up here, I had to rivet the leather to a piece of foam in order for the foam to stick to the thicker foam, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. Now the boots are actually a two-piece system here. I use that same process of riveting the leather to the foam in order for it to be glued to the other foam, and as you can see here, this is actually 3 pieces of foam in one, and that's all hot glued together. And same process followed as the shoulder armor for that. That was actually leftovers that I have, so thankfully I didn't have to do it twice. And then we have the shark teeth pattern, which ran up the entire side. And as for the back of the calf, I actually think this looked pretty cool. And this actually was pretty easy to do. This is 2 separate pieces of foam welded with the hot glue. The shark fin I had to round off with a Dremel and then glue it straight down. Fortunately, it held its shape perfectly. So that all kind of just fits together. It obviously bulks out a little bit more when I'm wearing it. And honestly, you might think it's uncomfortable. And yeah, it is. But damn, it looks cool. Now the belt system as a whole, honestly, was such a nightmare. Oh man, I really had no idea how to go about this because the only reference that I had on this was based off of toys, and it wasn't the most accurate either, so I kind of had to just wing a lot of it, and I needed to make it fit my body and have it make sense. So basically what I did was I put a separate buckle onto that one so it could be a little adjustable, and that one weaves through the front one. Now the front one is looped on, so that can come on and off with ease, and the second one is riveted on with a snap, so that's not going anywhere. But then we have the belt buckle, which was just a piece of foam that I grinded down with a Dremel and then did the rest of the process. Now you'll see when I put the whole thing on, the hip guard is going to fit in between there. It's quite the hodgepodge of a belt system here. It all comes together at some point. Now as for the necklaces, this was actually one of the easier parts. I just picked this up from Michael's, as well as the leather lace right there. The shark tooth my brother-in-law actually gave me, so that was something special that I wanted to add. And then we have 2 arrowheads that I picked up from Michael's, and I just dry brushed that with silver and then hit this one with black shoe polish and just let it sit there for a little while, and once more just put rope around the both of them, and yeah, I just thought that was a nice little touch. And as for this brown lace right here, that was just a way of covering up the pen lines that I made, but you know what, kind of works, so I dig it. So in addition to the belts, he also has a rope tied around his waist. Sure, makes sense. I actually had this green rope laying around, so I just cut a length of it off, and yeah, there we have it. And now on to the crown jewel of this entire cosplay. We have Aquaman's trident, or should I say quindent. I got this off of Amazon for about 70 bucks, mostly because I honestly didn't feel like making it, but it's by the Noble Collection, and I gotta say, the level of detail in this is just so spot on. And I think it's a beautiful representation of Aquaman's quindent or trident. I don't know. I'm not going to get whatever you want to say. Not to mention, it is quite tall. Like, I'm 6'1", and I'm looking up at this. So it's a pretty big replica. Next up is the wig, which is being modeled brilliantly by Oscar here. You look marvelous. Honestly, I got this wig at Spirit Halloween for about 20 bucks, and I think it looks just fine. I know Jason Momoa's hair is a little bit darker than this. It's not exactly blonde, but for me and this particular version that I was going for, putting my own twist on it, I feel like this worked just fine. Now, what I do like about this is the fact that it kind of has that surfer boy kind of look, where it looks like you just came fresh out of the ocean. Alright, so that was the costume and wig breakdown. Now it's story time. So I'm there with Danny. We're working for about a half hour. Most of the beach is pretty secluded. There was a couple of people there, but they were way out of the way. So I look out and I see that there's this big rock just off the shore. And I thought, man, it would look so cool if I can get a picture on top of that rock surrounded by water. Question is, how was I going to get there? Well, there was a rock next to that rock. So it was a slightly smaller rock. We'll call it a medium rock. Just off to the side. Now, to get to that, I had to take a small pile of rocks and then basically make my own stepping stone. I make the stepping stone and get onto the medium rock. I get onto the other rock, take a few pictures with the trident. I'm standing there like a majestic mother that I am. And that pretty much wrapped it up. So I hand the trident back to Danny and I look to get back to shore. I figured the best way would just be to go the way I came. However, a small wave had come and just completely washed over the medium rock. Not that big a problem, except for the fact that I was wearing these. Yes, this comes back into play. This knockoff croc caused me so much pain in this moment. So I'm standing there on the big rock, staring at the small rock, which is now wet, mind you. And I'm thinking, okay. I have a window of opportunity to jump here. Here we go. Now at this point, Danny turns to me and says, quit being a little and just jump. Give me a minute, will you? So I'm standing there getting my bearings. I'm like, okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, and I jump. And the second that these crocs hit that rock, boom, duck. My legs go flying up. My ass and back crash down on the rock. Oh my god, my teeth were rattling. I hit the ground so hard. This thing hurt so much. My feet then slid right into the water. The armor got soaking wet. I was freaking out. My arms swing out to the side. I'm grabbing onto nothing because water. I reach out to grab for help. There's nothing there. The gauntlet goes in the water. The feet goes in the water. Everything goes in the damn water. I have a giant wet spot on my ass that is freezing cold. So almost immediately I just rush right off to the side just because I don't want anything to happen to the cosplay. I don't want anything to happen to the armor. I wasn't even concerned about myself. I was worried about the damn paint job on this thing. So I get off to the side. I'm practically limping. I'm like, oh. So as I'm going off to the side, I'm taking off the gauntlets, I'm taking off the boots, I'm taking off everything. The shoulder armor got ripped. As you saw before, that's why the shoulder armor was ripped. I gotta repair that now, just because I came crashing down like a ton of bricks. And as I'm sitting down, there's a moment of silence, followed by Danny cracking up. So I look at Danny, I'm like, what is so funny? She just goes, your membership for the Justice League? Revoked. Yeah, I'm going back to Gotham. But it's at this moment is when I learned the lesson, is that when the water says, you've had enough, I say, you're right. Message received. And on top of that, yeah, got a little bit of blood right there. But that's also when I realized that out of all the cosplay shoots that we've done over the years, Aquaman is the one that has caused me physical harm, that has drawn blood. Really? He's not even my favorite character, and yet this is the one that I got injured for? Good duck, I don't know how to explain that. So yeah, I just thought you'll like to hear the story of how I completely busted my ass on the rock and got soaking wet. What are you laughing at?
Serves you right. That's what you get, you little prick. For all the times he tortured me.
Well, so So now it's time to put it all on and see it all come together. Starting with a pair of black socks and a pair of green leggings. Cut and print, that's a wrap on my Aquaman cosplay breakdown video. Thank you so much for watching. This costume was a trip to put together, but I really love how it looks in the end. I just absolutely love the look of this version of the character, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of it, but that's life. I am Aquaman. If you get that reference, comment below. You know. But if you like this video and want to check out more, I have my Facebook page over here, my Instagram page over here, and until next time, stay weird, stay tuned.